hills and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Oh, well, they gave me bars, but I can see between to a dusty yard and a long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober as good.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shortbangers. I'm Matty, joined tonight by John and Colin and special guest Jo Caulfield. So, Colin, first of all, how are you doing?
Good, mate. I just try to cool down after the heat wave.
You look like you've been out in the sun, mate.
I definitely have been. The red nose.
The red nose and the white t-shirt as well. You never ever wear a white t-shirt unless you're going out in the sun. John, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. Managed to survive. Just me looking after my daughter today. The wife was at work, so I think we both put in a 12-hour shift.
Decent. And you had an afternoon nap as well, which isn't a bad going.
Aye. I'm not going to tell the wife about that because she thinks I've been knocking my pan in.
we were talking about this yesterday. So I was at a barbecue at Colin's yesterday, and I can't remember who it was. We're talking to the boys about what you did when you were hungover, when the kids were wee. And I used to play a game where I'd lie on the couch and say, see if you can get my socks off without waking me up. And so they were kind of keeping trying to get the socks off, and I would sleep for as long as it took to have to participate in the game again. I don't know if that's good parenting or bad parenting, but anyway, they're big and they're all healthy now, so I guess nothing went wrong. Jo, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
I'm good. I was out in the sun today as well. I was doing some gardening, which now looks like I've been self-harming because I've just scratched myself to hell, and then thought, oh yeah, I should have done that with a shirt on. I was actually pruning like an old rose that goes up the wall. And I think, yeah, I should have had a shirt on to do that.
Topless garden is an interesting approach, especially. Are you in Leith?
I am, yeah. I am within the sound of the Hibs ground. Yeah, I'm right behind I won't give my exact address, but the houses near to Easter Road. Yeah. So I could hear it yesterday. That's how I knew something was going on, because I was like, oh, they must be playing. It's only July. Are they playing already? Beginning of July? Yeah.
So the season has started. And you've got a fringe show coming up, Jo. Can you tell us a wee bit about that?
Yeah, I'm doing it at the Stand, which is the comedy club all year round. So I feel that makes it easier because people already walk in there going, oh, it's a comedy club, it's probably going to be funny, rather than you walk into some of those venues that are like, a doctor's office that's been turned into a venue and people are a bit like, oh, what is this? And it's a nice dark room, low ceiling, there's a bar, they've had a drink. So half of the work is done, I feel, before I even walk on stage. So I'll be doing it there, 8:20, lovely time. People have a few drinks, but not too many. They've time to have their tea. And then the actual show is, I always say, it's just me talking about whatever has happened since the last year. So a lot of shows, they're quite worthy and they sometimes have a lesson or a theatrical arc. Mine doesn't have any of that shit. It's just sort of jokes, gossip, things I've noticed about living in Scotland, quite a lot about Scottish people's sort of sense of humour. Or is it a sense of humour or is it just being rude? Like, explain this to me, which was people at a show. The woman comes up and says, oh, I enjoyed the show, Jo. And I was just thinking, you remind me of someone. Then her husband came up and she said, who is it that she looks like? And then the wife goes, oh, I think I know. It's our neighbour's Labrador. And he looked right at me and then went, oh, she wishes. I was like, I don't even understand what that means. Right. And she did then show me a photo of the neighbour's Labrador and rather an attractive Labrador, I thought. So I was like, oh, sort of a compliment. Yeah, so I try bits out, but I always think I can't really tell the show until I'm doing it in Edinburgh, where I have that mix of audience where there's Scottish people, English people, people from all over. That sort of have a feeling for what it's like in Scotland and during the festival. And also, I don't like Like sometimes people do a lot of previews where you try out the whole show, but then I think you arrive at Edinburgh going, oh, I've done this 20 times. I don't want to do it anymore. So I prefer to arrive not knowing if it's going to work. But sort of going, I think that's good, that's good, that's good. Let's see. So I'm still excited and it still kind of can grow a bit during.
Have you not trialed it at all? Or
oh no, I do try it. I try out sort of the routines I've done in comedy clubs and stuff. But in terms of doing it as an hour, I'll probably only do it about 5 times before I do the festival. But I've tried out the bits, definitely. So I know, it's got routines.
So when you're putting your show together, Jo, we had a guy on recently called Mark Nelson. He said that most comedians, the good comedians, spend probably from when they finish their last tour, that's when they start writing the next one. But he said the shit ones like himself, I think that was the words that he used, they probably start cramming about 2 weeks before they're due to go on stage for the first time. How do you approach it?
Well, you always want to be one of the good ones that works hard. Or, as soon as they finish one show, they go, right, now I'll start on the next one. And I know for a fact that that is the way Sarah Millican works. And that's probably why she's Sarah Millican. I'm a little bit more like Mark, like you want to work that way, but it's like getting your homework done. It's the pressure, that time pressure, I feel, makes you think of stuff. If I try and sit and go, wonder what will I be funny about? It's too difficult. It's got to be either something that happened that really annoyed me, so then I talk about it on stage and then go, oh, that turned out to be a funny thing. Or you're on stage, people are looking at you. There's nothing like people staring at you with hatred to make you come up with a punchline. It's that extra pressure of just kind of going, oh my God, and I've only got 2 months till the festival. I need to think of something. And you start, your brain starts working then. And then sometimes you do think of stuff and I think, well, I'll put that aside until the festival. But, you can't. I know very few people who can sit down and do it like a 9-to-5 job and go, well, now I'm going to work for 5 hours and I'll come out with, this amount of jokes at the end, because you just don't know until you say it in front of people. You don't know. And
with everything going on just now, like so the last week, we even as idiots, we're laughing at events of the last week. Do you find it difficult to write material when real life is already really funny?
God, isn't real life funny, but terrifying at the same time. I mean, I've both really enjoyed it and then at the same time gone, oh my God, but they run the country. So I do quite a lot of that on Twitter. Like I enjoy it on Twitter where somehow it doesn't feel like real life. So that's okay. But I think genuinely I get too angry about politics to do it that well on stage. And I often don't even find political comedy that funny because I'm like, how do you not take this seriously? Like these people are so awful. So occasionally, if I find my take on it, then I might be able to do stuff about it. But also, I do think people have come out to forget. They do want a laugh and they don't want you to be, being pompously sort of telling, well, I don't know if you've noticed, but the government is appalling at the moment. It's like, it's hard to make it really, really laugh out funny. And often I think people are a bit like, oh God, she's going to talk about that. That's reminded me, I don't think we can afford to heat our house this winter. It's kind of trying to avoid that. But in terms of, God, enjoying the sort of circus of it, I have. Until, like I say, you then go, oh, but that's also going to affect my life. Yeah,
till reality hits. Right, we'll go and get some questions. So the format of Shortbangers jokes, I'm sure you haven't listened before, is that we get asked questions that can be about everything and anything, and then we try and answer them. So we sort of position it a wee bit like QI. Well, initially, I think I called it QI for idiots. And then I realised that was
QI by idiots.
By idiots, yeah, because it was people sort of into the audience, so it's QI by idiots. So the first question that we've got tonight comes from Dorlisa on Twitter, and it says, in the cowboy films, why is there never horse shit in the street?
I immediately saw horse shit, you see, when you said that. But then I thought, no, you're right, there isn't horse shit. And then I thought of all the places I've seen horse shit. You see a lot of horse shit in London, weirdly. I think it's.
Is there many cowboys kicking about London?
there's posh people, not cowboys, but there's posh people with horses, isn't there? So weirdly, you go, oh, it's like oh, there's been posh people here. There's shit everywhere. Yeah. Well, obviously, they did have. Weirdly, I listened to some history podcasts, and there was people that was their job to go and clean the shit. And if you didn't want your road to be really shitty, then you would pay them. It was up to the local people. They go, oh, can you go and, I'll give you a penny, go and clean up that shit. I mean, I don't think it was the best job. It was like a starter career to be the person that picks up horse shit.
You always get around the streets after the football because of the police horses. And I always thought it was bad that they don't have to pick it up. Like if your dog made that mess, you would get absolutely hammered for it. So I don't know why it's all right for a horse.
That is a really, really good point.
So no, the toxicity, is that what you said? There's something to do with that, isn't it? It doesn't it's not poisonous.
Horse shit's toxic?
No, it's not. That's why
like you could put it in a child's eyes and they don't go blind, that sort of thing.
Never tried.
Have we tested that theory?
You don't do that. Aussie police do that all the time.
If anybody wants to volunteer their child, text it 80295 and we'll put it to the test.
You know how some people's surnames come from their ancestors' occupation, so like Taylor or Smith, for example. What would a person who cleaned up horseshit's surname be in the modern age?
Johnson.
Yeah. Good one. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, John. Like Mr. Pooper Scoop. I don't know, like how. Yeah, I don't know where that would come from. Right.
There'll be one out there.
Next question from Fats Prickus. Do UK pigeons coo at each other in various different accents depending on what city they're from?
Regional, I don't think so.
Regional coo. Well, why wouldn't they?
Why would they, though? They don't have the same. They don't hear things the way we hear them, do they? I wouldn't think. They've got their own accents, haven't they?
But yeah, I don't know if you get a Cockney pigeon.
Why? I was thinking Cockney as well. And why does anyone?
Because they put their heads out like that, so they look like they've got a bit of an attitude, don't they? They're kind of aggressive, like, oh yeah, I know it all. I'm a pigeon. Yeah. So yeah, I think all pigeons have Cockney accents. That's definitely the thing. Yeah,
that seems reasonable.
All right, Fats Prickus also asked which non-domestic animal was the best and why. John, you want to start with this one?
No. So non-domestic. So we're talking like farmyards, jungle. Doesn't live in your house.
Any kind of an house. That's what non-domestic means.
And what was it? Was it the best? The best
yeah,
non-domesticated
which is the best and why?
I'm going to start with sloth because zero maintenance. Barely know that they're there.
It does. Joe?
I quite like a sloth as well. I like their sort of movement of very, very slowly getting something to eat and then going to sleep. Seems quite a nice life. I've always liked elephants. I think they look very kind. They always look slightly upset and kind. So I like them. And I saw a documentary about them going back to, they go back to where other elephants have died. So actually now I think about it, they're a bit morbid. I don't think they'd be much fun to hang around, just sort of going, oh, I think another elephant died here. I'm very upset now. But I thought it was quite clever of them to know that other elephants died. Yeah.
Are they not domesticated though, because they're sometimes form part of a circus or?
Nah, you're not allowed to have them in the circus now. Yeah, you can put a saddle on one and ride them, but you might be able to do that to a sloth. I mean, most things in the end will take a saddle.
John, do you remember Brian's joke about the elephant from one of our early episodes? If you don't, I'll tell it.
Yes, but tell it.
There is a little boy, so a 10-year-old boy, who's out on safari with his mum and dad in Africa, and as they're going along the track, he sees in the distance there's an elephant lying on its side, and he persuades the ranger who's driving the jeep to stop the jeep, and he goes over and he sees the elephant, and it's got a big splinter, a big bit of wood stuck in its paw. So the wee boy, with all his might, pulls a splinter out the elephant's paw, and it gets to its feet, and it gives him a wee look and a wee nod to say thanks, and off it goes. So years later, the boy's back at home. He's grown up now. He's got his own kids, and the circus are in town. So they're doing a parade through the main street of the town. So he gets the kids down, and they're all standing at the pavement, and there's jugglers and acrobats and stuff coming along, and then there's 4 or 5 elephants coming along as part of the troupe. And he's looking, and there's an elephant catches his eye, and he looks back, and they share a moment, and he thinks, "It can't be, is it?" And the elephant gets closer and closer, and it's got eye contact, and the elephant steps away from the group and comes over to him, and the wee boy can't believe, or the man can't believe this. And then the elephant rears up, and he just smashes him with his paw. It was a different elephant.
Oh, see, I lost track. I lost track halfway through. I thought, I don't want to be rude, but I've no idea what's going on now with the elephant at all. I was just thinking of the pigeon thing, that near me, you might know it. I got a taxi driver, and he told me there's a place near me on Restalrig where I don't know why I thought I might want to do this, but they do pigeon swapping on Sundays. And it's a pigeon fanciers pub.
Is that code?
No, it's actually, that's what they do on a Sunday. It's up there. God, what is it called? But he said if you go in there on a Sunday, he goes, and he explained the whole thing of pigeon fancying, which I didn't realise actually is pigeons fancying other pigeons. I never knew that's what it was.
There was a guy on the news last week who had racing pigeons, and one had gone missing, and it turned up in, was it Kansas or somewhere like this, where they found it, and it had the wee tracker on its ankle, so they knew it was his pigeon, but it was all covered in oil or something, but it just obviously got massively lost, and he thought it was gone forever, and he got reunited with his pigeon, but had to travel to America for it. I'm not sure.
Where did it leave from? The UK?
He was like northeast. He had like a Geordie accent. I don't know what accent the pigeon had, whether they were able to trace it through that either. But I don't know if I could be asked travelling to America for a pigeon. I would like.
Oh God, no! It's crazy.
I clean it up and just let it go, and it'll come back itself.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, it's not a very good racing pigeon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Colin, what about you? What's your best animal and why?
It's the lion. I'd go for the lion, just because they are the best, aren't they? The king of the jungle and all that. So, strongest, biggest, toughest. Lion.
You can see our two personalities. I went for sloth. You went for lion.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say monkeys. I always like the mischief of monkeys, so I don't know what that says about me, John.
Is it the mischief, or they do a lot of other things? Don't they masturbate a lot and throw their shit around?
Yeah.
Is that what you find them more attractive?
If the cap fits and all. Whiskey Craig said, were we wearing bum bags wrong in the 90s, or is the new over-the-shoulder trend completely mental?
It does look mad. I was in London last summer, and that's where I first saw people wearing them like that.
What, bum bags over the shoulder?
Yeah, they go over like
yeah. Whoever sent this question sounds to me like a man who's horrified that men carry things with them anyway. You know, the sort of men who are like, if you can't put it in your pocket, why would you take it with you? You know, not realising men are allowed to have things and carry them in bags. It's perfectly acceptable.
What do you think they're putting in them, though? Like, I mean, really, because you've got your wallet, your keys, and your phone. What else?
Not your comb, Colin. You're not carrying a comb.
Just recently. But no, that's it. It's what else can there be? What else do you possibly need?
A book, an iPod, a jumper in case it's going to get colder. Your
there's no danger.
Hand sanitizer.
A jumper in their shoulder bag because we're just not that practical.
No thinking ahead that the weather might change. Yeah.
No, they'd probably use their shoulder bag as a cap. Try and keep
it's a nightclubby thing, though, isn't it? It's more the youngsters going out at night who have your stuff in one of those things.
I don't know
when it became morning after pill, that sort of a thing.
Yeah. When did they become acceptable? Because I think we were at school in the 90s, Colin. If we dropped up to school with a bum bag, you would have got absolutely slaughtered for it. Like, it just would not have been in any way, shape, or form acceptable. But now,
I've seen them a lot of festivals.
yeah,
Because it is handy.
So I think the answer there is that the thing that people are carrying in it is drugs. Definitely at
Yeah.
festivals.
just a big pill bag.
Yeah,
And I know
everyone's a dealer.
it's that, and also very handy. I noticed in Hamburg for the working lady, they all had bum bags, and I thought, and I just thought, well, it's condoms and lipstick, I don't know, but they all had bum bags and captain.
Right, change your tone. 150k on Hanlon Hill, and probably related to festivals as well. Some of the answers we might hear. What's the longest length of time you've held a job in?
What's the what?
The longest length of time you've held a job in?
Oh, I can't answer that. Oh, I really can't.
Well, festivals, if you've ever been to a festival, you do everything you can to avoid going to the toilet to do that. So
I saw a story on Twitter recently about a guy I think he'd eaten 8 hard-boiled eggs to stop himself from shitting over the weekend. And when he finally did, it was just awful. But it was a really good description.
He was in tears trying to pass it.
He was constipated.
I saw that as well. I think he said it kind of there's a wee bit of background noise there. I don't know what that was. I think he said it kind of got halfway out, and then that was it. Nothing else was happening, and he was in tears, kind of crawling on the floor to try and move it. And never had that. But Colin, you ever got to great lengths to keep one in?
Not that I can think about. I do, thinking back to, I can't ever remember going to the toilet when I was at school, like during the day, like ever. Whereas now at work, like, no problem with that. But when I was younger, I can't.
More that it wasn't a problem. Like when you're a kid, I don't think it's ever a problem, is it? You just go. But you don't have the same obsession that adults have. You know, am I going enough, or am I not going enough? I don't think they organise it better. Something. At break time, I must need a poo. You know.
You're saying the kids don't think about whether they're getting enough fibre in their diet?
Yeah.
The only time, Colin, I can remember going to the toilet at school was in 6th year, and it was a Friday morning. We had free period first two periods on the Friday morning, and we got to the common room and had a joint, and I whited massively. So I went to the toilet to throw up, and then I went straight home. It was like the most pointless day at school. I was very stoned and very, very sick. And I think I just sort of passed it off as a migraine when I got home. Why are you here? Migraine. I'm going to my bed.
Yeah.
And that was it. I think that was the only time I can remember using the toilets at school.
I do remember actually last year I walked the West Highland Way, like for charity. So we did it in 4 days. So that was all. It wasn't what I imagined. I thought there would be toilets, but there's not toilets. And so weeing is fine, but I learned quickly that my body, that people were asking me, have you been? And I'd go, no. My body just went, okay, when you get home in 5 days' time, we'll go then. And that was it. I was not going. And I thought, and my friend, like she was getting up in the morning, oh, I'm gone. I was like, well, that is, yeah. But I couldn't do it on demand, and I wasn't going to do it out in the fields and wherever we were. So 5 days. 5 days is the answer, actually, to that question.
The West Highland Way is notorious for its midges as well, which is an extra hazard if you need to do the...
We were not a single one. I mean, I'd bought a stupid net. I had all that stuff to spray over me, and no midges at all. None. It was glorious, actually, and didn't rain. It was beautiful.
Are you sure it was the West Highland Way you did?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was, I mean, I lost 3 toenails and it was hell, but it was beautiful and the weather was nice. Yeah.
Wow.
We had a question about losing toenails. Was it last week? Would you rather, what was it? Would you rather...
A tooth or a toenail? Tooth or your big toenail?
Toenail's nothing.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, toenail doesn't hurt, actually.
You had to pull it out yourself, I think, was the question, the full question. So we went toenails, so I think most of us did.
I said tooth.
Did you say tooth?
I had to say the idea of losing the toenail it gives me the fear. Okay, 150k on the Hanlon Hill ask, would you rather hear smells or smell sounds?
Hear smells.
I need to wrap my head around this.
I know, I can't quite.
I think
Which is worse, if it's a bad sound or a bad smell? So a bad sound, I think, is not as bad as a bad smell. So I'd rather. What would I rather do? Smell sounds.
Smell sounds.
Which do you think is your strongest sense? Your hearing or your sense of smell?
No idea.
Because I'm going to choose the opposite.
Hearing, but it's a good question, John. I think hearing, but what your brain does the same thing with both. Is it stops paying attention to noises that are like overly familiar or safe, and it does the same with smells. You know, like if you're in your house and
you don't smell your own house, yeah.
But if there was like a gas leak, because they make gas smell, you would recognise that because it's different. So although it's like your brain just filters it out, but it does the same with sound. So that's how you can sleep. You know, some people sleep with the TV on and stuff like that. It just goes, we'll ignore that sound so you can get to sleep. So I think they're both sensitive senses, if that's not stating the obvious. But I don't know if one is more efficient than the other, John.
If you had a gas leak in your house, though, and you could hear smells, what would you hear? What does that
sound like? That would be hell. That would be like the smoke alarm going off, and I would go insane. I hate that any kind of alarms. Yeah. So I'd rather smell the alarm.
Do you think it would be like a high-pitched
sound
that you would hear?
Yeah, a horrible sound. Yeah.
What were you calling?
I can't understand the question. I'm sitting here.
It does your brain in a bit to think about it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Do you know the thing that I've thought about when I saw the question was about farts, because they're both noisy and smelly, and I was like, right, so the way that my head works is if you could smell the sound, it would just have the same effect, wouldn't it? Like a loud, smelly fart is going to be the same whether you are smelling or hearing the smell.
All farts and jobbies with him, isn't it? Yeah. All farts and jobbies.
Yes.
What do you think? What do you think the smell of the vibration coming from your bumhole would be?
Well, it would just smell like a fart, John, wouldn't it?
But it's not the smell of the fart. I'm thinking about what you would hear through your nose. It's bizarre. We should move on.
Yeah, we will move on. WTC 1981 asks, what's your favourite pub in Leith, and should they host a Shortbangers live?
What's that?
So we've got a wee crackling noise here. I'm not sure what that is.
Don't know. I have many favourite pubs in Leith, and I'm trying to think which would be the best one if you were doing a Bangers live. Now I can think of something where it wouldn't work. One of my favourite ones used to be the Alan Brett Lounge, that's now the Smoke and Mirrors. That's too lovely. That's more for your ladies drinking, I would say. I like going there. It's slightly bohemian, indie. I tell you what, the only thing that really annoys me this is the kind of pub it is. On some nights, they do crafting. Yes. Why would you do that and ruin a perfectly good place to go for a drink by going, we've got a lady who's going to teach you how to do macrame? No. So that wouldn't be a good place for you, but I do like it. You know, I would say it would have to be Central Bar. It'd have to be. It's got great acoustics, lovely tiling. I was taken for a prostitute there. And the man did it in the nicest possible way, because I do really like it in there. And I think I was with my husband and someone else, and they just happened to turn away, so it looked like I was on my own. And then this man, quite elderly, started talking to me, And then the way he said it was, he goes, I've got to tell you, he goes, you're the best looking woman in here. And then he looked around the central bar and went, I know that's not saying much. And I did look around, I was like, he's right, I've got my own teeth, so look at me being all fancy. But then I quickly realised that he thought I was working there. He said, oh, you're new to the area, blah, blah. And then when my husband came back, obviously he thought he was my pimp. I think that's where you should do your podcast from, definitely.
I quite like the idea of the crafting thing, because what I like about that is if they do the session early enough in the day and it lasts long enough, the standard of the crafting that you were doing would, you could tell at what point you'd done
Oh, by the end. Also, you'd just be going, fuck this shit. I can't do it. Yeah. Just people have terrible ideas for what will get people into pubs, and I mean, generally, I don't like anything going on in a pub. I was at Fortaleza, they play good music, Molten Hops. Molten Hops would be not a bad place to do it. Mm-hmm. They've got nice music as well, and they don't try and do anything entertaining in there. No.
John, what about you? You're drinking at least quite frequently. What would you recommend?
I quite like the sound of the central bar and getting mistaken for a prostitute, to be honest.
Earn yourself a little bit of pumpkin money, John.
Yeah. So my preferred haunts in Leith, I like the, what's it called, Jeremiah's Tap Room and Harp and Castle. Harp and Castle is by far my favourite Leith boozer.
The Harp and Castle, really?
Yep.
Right, see, that always makes me think. It reminds me of childhood because there's something about that place. Well, one, it's one of the only few places that show football, and it reminds me of being on Ferry flying. As soon as I go in there, it's not like a pub somehow. It's like a ferry bar. The windows are at the weird height. Everything's just Formica and 1970s. So it's got a weird feel to it. But that's it. Them, there, and the Alhambra. I can't think of anywhere else where you can watch football now.
Joe, I'm not sure if it's your mic that's giving us a wee bit of background noise. Is it a plug-in one or like on your laptop?
I'm not moving it, so it shouldn't. It's up here.
Maybe it's not. John, you go mute for a second. We'll troubleshoot it live.
Wow, this is exciting, folks. Hey.
Right, so it's still happening, so it's not you, John. Colin, you go mute. Could be me. Are you on mute, Colin? This is exciting for everybody tuning in as well. I'm not even going to edit this bit out. You're just going to have to deliver it. No, yeah, it's still happening. So, Colin, you can come off mute. Joe, you go on mute. Right, and that sounds a wee bit better. Oh, you're not? There we go. I think it might be you, Joe. Come off mute again just now. Anyway, we'll persevere. We've not got too much longer left of the podcast. So I'll see if I can clean it up anyway. I would say Harp and Castle would be another shout. That's because Titch shouted his pints last time we were in there, so I'll buy Titch a pint next time I go in.
Big listener of the show, so the Formica tables and the windows that will wear tight. I'm sure he'll sort that out.
And Robbie's bar. Robbie's is my favourite bar in
right, yeah.
Over the roads.
Yeah, and they have the match as well, don't they?
They do. Good Hibs pub.
It's quite bright. That was me. I'd like to go in there and go, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the last couple of questions. Tony Swanson asked, which body part draws the biggest laughs and jokes? For example, is a big McGinn butt better than a tripod tucked in the sock? A schnauzer like Davy Dodds or elephant ears like Davy Hopkins? So do you ever find in your acts, Joe, that you refer to body parts that get a laugh?
No! I don't know. Do I have anything that involves body parts? No, not at all. No.
Your comedy's obviously of a slightly higher intellectual level.
Well, no, I'm just thinking I do have there's quite a lot of cocks now I think about it. Quite a lot of cock reference. Yeah, that would be the funniest for me. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
That's probably the same for us as well. Knobs or arses, eh? Like,
Cock and
something
balls,
that's yeah.
balls, especially on the older gentlemen. It's quite a fun thing. It's a good visual. I do it in reference to my husband and then going, oh, that reminds me, I must buy aubergines.
It's quite the compliment.
Ian T says the secret of good comedy is timing, or is it?
Haha.
There is I can't remember who the comedian is. It does a joke like that. So it says. Anyway, it just says it dead quick, so it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. Charlie Mulgrew thinks he made that up. Asks a girthy jobby or a jaggy jobby. Neither sounds appealing, does it? And Charlie Banks,
especially after 5 days of holding it in.
Yeah, Charlie Banks with the last, almost the last question from us, the second last one. In an average week, how many times do you reckon you swear?
I would hate somebody to count it. Thousands.
Yeah, I couldn't.
I like a swear.
I would be, 7 days, easy 100 times a day.
Yeah.
Really?
So
that seems quite high. And is that all vocalized, or is it kind of like internal swearing?
You've got to say it, or it doesn't count.
It has to be proper spoken swearing, John. And last question from us, Joe, I know you've got a couple of questions for us, is from Neil Renton, who asks, what advice would you give to a struggling comedian? Asking for a friend, he says. So Neil's tried his hand at stand-up before, so what advice would you give?
He's struggling, is he? Mm-hmm. There's no advice you can give apart from keep doing it, or if you're shit, stop doing it. But you only learn by doing it. It's not like, being in a band and go, oh, I'm going to practice guitar at home. You have to be bad in front of people. That's the only way. You have to go to a comedy club, I'm going to go on stage, ruin these people's, 10 minutes of their life now. And then gradually you'll get better.
And is that how you started? Just being bad, or were you always good?
No, bad, terrible. But weirdly, you don't realise quite how bad you are. Like, because you'll get some laughs and that sort of keeps you going. But when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, just terrible. But you're hooked because you get some laughs, so you like it. I mean, I do remember I used to tape my gigs as well, which I still do now if I'm doing something new. And in my head, there was loads of laughter. And then when I listened to the cassette, because it was a cassette, I went, oh, I mustn't have picked up the laughter that I heard in my head,
When did you notice a change, Joe? Like,
it's just gradually. Yeah. And, sometimes different rooms you get good in a smaller room, and then other rooms are still frightening to you. You go, I don't know what it is about that club, but it's scary. And then I look back now at clubs that I used to find scary that are now my favourite clubs to play. So it's just gradual, and your confidence goes up and down as well. Whereas, now it's more even keel.
Do you still record?
So, I would say to the struggling comic, it's not going to get easier for a long time. If you want to do it, you have to be prepared to have some terrible nights where you go, oh my God, that was absolutely awful. I'll never live that down. And then go and do that again.
So you say, Joe, do you still record and listen back? The reason I was asking.
Yeah. Especially like at the moment, because I'm doing new stuff, and sometimes I won't remember what I said. I'll go, oh God, I improvised something and I can't remember what it was. So for that reason, yeah.
I seen Jason Manford earlier in the year at the Playhouse, and he was talking about he does that, or he did do it. I think he still does it.
Yeah.
And he was driving home one night, wondering why did nobody laugh at the big. You've probably seen him doing it. The big joke at the end, and it was because he listened back and he thought, shit, I never done the setup at the start of the. It was like one of these ones when you.
Oh, like a callback. Yes.
And then you come back at the end. You go, why is nobody laughing? They don't get it. And it was they've missed the whole bit of that. So I suppose it's to record that and go, well, it's a funny joke. I just didn't tell them it.
Yeah.
And that's why they never laughed. But.
Yeah, no, he's great, Jason.
So, Joe, you had some questions for us?
Oh, yes. Now, I have some actual football questions that I would like to know about that you might not know. So I've already found out another place to watch football that I'd forgotten about. You said Robbie's Bar. Oh, yes. I don't understand this at all. Do you understand the new Scottish Premier League thing where it gets split in two halves, but only halfway through the season, and why is that a thing?
Yeah, John, do you want to explain it?
Yeah, so it's been around for what, at least 10 years?
No. Has it?
It's been around for about at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And what happens is, because there's 12 teams in the league, everyone plays each other at least 3 times, and then after 33 games, you have a top 6 and a bottom 6, and there's 5 further games. So there's 38 games played throughout the season.
So that 6 never is going to play the top 6 again after a certain time?
After the split, yeah. Usually around sort of April time.
That feels a bit like streaming in schools. It feels very unfair then to go, right, you're in that bottom 6, you haven't got a hope of getting better.
So it's effectively like playoffs for the championship in the European spots and playoffs for relegation is kind of how it works. That's what it's like.
And do you like it? Do you think that works?
Yeah, I like it. I'm a fan of it. I think it just makes it a bit more interesting because the league's normally won or by 1 or 2 teams, so I didn't really care. Rangers or Celtic are going to win.
Right.
So that's
I think one of the things that it prevents though is the top of the table. So say Rangers, Celtic, whoever's in third, it stops them having the game against like the team that's scrapping for relegation. So you don't get any sort of upsets there.
Yeah.
But that's good, the upset.
Yeah, the upsets are good.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
So it removes that. It's just weird. I think that the format was designed to appease certain teams in the league rather than all the teams in the league.
It was because one of the reasons is if you've got 12 teams in the league and you all play each other 4 times, there's too many matches. So it was a way of stripping out 5 games or 6 games out of the
Yeah, it does that, doesn't it? Yeah. And then you're also going to have VAR, but only halfway through the season. So what are your thoughts on getting that in?
Colin, you want to take that?
I'm happy with VAR. Don't see. It should make it fairer, right? It should make it like we always go on, Joe, about or even out over the season and sort of ridiculing that because it never ever evens out over the season. But this should help it even out over the season because it's the correct decisions rather than.
But you've seen how it works in the Premier League, that it's sort of some decisions it's made it fairer, but then some decisions you still get bad decisions.
It's those ones that are on it's supposed to be clear and obvious, but the problem is the game that sometimes it's not clear or obvious until they make a decision. If they're just going clear and obvious, going, well, that's obviously a penalty or not a penalty, that's fine. But if they're going, I'm not sure, I'll watch the replay over and over and over.
They still do that.
Yeah. Twice.
Yeah, they still do that, and it drives me insane. And I hate that you lose that spontaneous celebration. Might not be a goal now. We have to wait and see.
I don't think we'll lose the spontaneous celebration. You'll have that absolute sinking feeling though when you have celebrated and the adrenaline's going and all that, and then you go, "Oh, fuck's sake, they've taken the goal off." You know what I mean? It'll be that the come down on it more.
I think it's sometimes it's really, really clearly a goal, so you can celebrate. But any time now where you can see certain things might happen, you just can't celebrate. You're like, oh, hang on, wait, and then it's not the same.
But the flip side is when you concede. Like I think in a derby, I know that will happen in a derby because Hearts always get the decisions right. But there's a potential that they'll score a goal and they'll all be going nuts and we'll all be going, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" And then VAR will kick in and say no goal. And then we get to celebrate it. It's like you have that big, yes, and you celebrate not scoring, but also not conceding, which is like a good wee thing, I think.
Yeah. And have you ever started a chant or something and people not join in? because I saw a guy doing that and it made me laugh so much because nobody else joined in. And then, but he stuck with it.
He kept going.
Just kept going.
We talked about it last week. We were talking about
It's
chants.
just
Yeah.
Thursday night.
Ah,
So where I sit in the West Stand, you can easily, if you time it right, you can get the Hibs chant going dead easy and it without fail. So I've not had it go wrong, but there have definitely been instances with folk round about us that have shouted, and there's not a lot of singers up in the West Stand where I sit, and you just feel the pain. Like they'll go with something and you just think, poor bugger.
It's one of my favourite things. I love it. I think, do I have any other questions? Oh, yeah. This is the thing I was thinking about with the managers. One season doesn't seem fair. You think it
Some
should?
managers don't even get one season.
Yeah. So what is minimum? They should, if it was to say, right, you can't sack someone before that, is it one season, 1.5? But at least one season.
There are exceptions to my point of view because Colin challenged me on this once before. But if you give a manager a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year contract, that's how long they should get. Is my thinking. However, if there's a break, say relegation, for example, then there's an opportunity for every party to kind of get round the table and think about it, have a conversation.
What about transfer windows for managers, so that you can't, if you've got them locked in and is at the end of August, that's who you're stuck with until January, or till the end January.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
In October and all that. Do you think that would work? Do you think it could work?
I like that idea. But if you were going to change them, you could only change them in the transfer window time. But then imagine that if you don't make it the midnight and then you go, oh no, now you've got them for the rest of the time.
The thing is, it's one of those, it's like we sack managers well, I say we, I'm not just talking about Hibs, but the managers are sacked in October or February. And the first thing they want to talk about is the players they can bring in the window. So like, just let's keep it, maybe do it earlier, so it's not tying into the same window as the players. So either get sacked in July, so you've got August to get your new players in.
Yeah.
Or December, so that you've got the January window to get your players in. Because that's all they want anyway. They don't think, and a manager never comes into a job thinking, I'll just make the guys that are there better.
Yes.
Rip all out and restructure and rebuild and start again. So
no, they always want to do a bit of shopping, don't they? Always. Yeah.
That's a good shout, Colin. We should take that to the Dragons Den.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that idea. Yeah. Do you have superstitions?
No, I don't know if John and Colin do.
I don't know if it's strong enough to qualify for a superstition, but I'll typically try and take the same route to the game. I'll cross the road in fact, no, it's a superstition. I'll try and cross the road at the same place, all that sort of stuff. I've worn lucky. I don't know if they were lucky socks, but I'd always try and wear something green. Doesn't matter whether it's a top, underpants, socks, or whatever, but definitely try and wear something green. And of course, if they win, then try and wear it again the following week and take exactly the same route. And to be honest, a lot of that was influenced by Nick Hornby's book Fever Pitch, because I'm sure there was a chapter in there about it.
I would say you're definitely superstitious.
It's like the definition of it, isn't it? I started off by
he's going, I don't really do much. But I wear the same clothes and I walk in exactly the same place and I've painted my car green, but I'm not really.
What about you, Colin?
I'll start off the same as John started off. But what I tend to do is I'll think, right, see the last time we beat Hearts, Rangers, Celtic, what did I have on? What top? It's just tops. Just the t-shirt or the jumper or whatever. But I would look at that and go, I'll wear that again because we won the last time. Or what did I have on? Oh, we got beat. I'm not wearing that again. But then I'll eventually wear it again. You know what I mean? Because I've only got a handful of tops to wear.
So, and Hibs get beat a lot.
Don't have that many clothes.
It's nonsense. I think you'd have to rely on this. My theory with football superstitions is if you are superstitious, you'd need everybody to agree to do whatever they were superstitious about at the same time for it to work. Because otherwise, it's fucked. You know, if somebody's not got their lucky socks on, but everybody else does, they've ruined it for everybody.
It'll be like us muting ourselves earlier to see which microphone was the problem. We'll be like, right, you don't wear your stuff this week.
Aye.
You wear it. Right, me again. Right, John, this week you're doing it. Cross the road.
Yes. Yeah. Go round every single person and then go, right, it's you, Matty. You can't come. Yeah.
I'm just imagining that big national lottery finger coming down, going, "It's you." Out of the sky above Easter Road. You're the one. You're the reason we got beat.
That's us out of time. Joe, just want to kind of give us a quick reminder then. So the Stand Comedy Club, what dates is?
Oh yeah, I'm starting on the 5th of August, so I'm there from there till the end of the festival, and it's called Here Comes Trouble, Jo Caulfield, 8:20. Lovely time. It's a nice venue, seats, bar, not too hot. You know, and also I've been doing it a long time. I know what I'm doing. It's not a risk.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, oh, this looks interesting. It's not interesting. It's funny.
Still like podcasts doing live shows, you mean?
Joe, thanks very much for taking time out your Sunday evening for us.
Thank you for having me.
It'll go out on Thursday night, so Joe folk will be listening going, what talk about Sunday, but we've recorded in advance this week, which we don't normally do. Best of luck with the shows. I'm sure we'll all try to get along as well, because we tend to do that with guests that are on, so you might see some faces that you recognise, and you'll be going, where do I know them from? And you'll be thinking of dogs that you can liken us to.
I'm the one that looks like a prostitute.
It'll be from this. Thanks again. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water, no.